Hey guys, it's Sensuki and welcome to my beginner's guide to classes in Pillars of Eternity. This video will focus on the high intellect fighter build. Before I get into that, I'm going to load my save and then I'm going to go over some errata from part 3 before demonstrating the build that I've made for this particular demonstration and how to use that build in combat. Okay, now in my last video I was discussing combat and mechanics and there were a couple of things that I forgot to do. The first thing several people have pointed out to me in the YouTube comments, and I also realised it after I watched the video, and that was when I was going to demonstrate shields, I actually got I lost track of what I was doing when I was in the shop interface and forgot to demonstrate them, so I'm going to do that first. Okay, so here I have Kalisha equipped with a medium heater shield. Now, as you can see, shields can only be used with a one-handed weapon, and what they do is when you equip a shield, they give you some deflection, but some heavier shields reduce your accuracy. Now, a small shield will only increase your deflection. This value has been fluctuating a fair bit during the beta. It used to be 10 deflection for a small shield, 15 for a medium, and 20 for a large. Shields have now been nerfed in the press patch, and then they may even be undergoing a few changes for the release version as well. So this kind of stuff will be fairly fluid and will probably be balanced again in future patches. But currently, I'm actually not sure what the value of small shields are. I think going by the numbers, it's probably 8 deflection with no accuracy penalty. Medium shields are 12 deflection, but they give you -4 to accuracy, and I think large shields might be 16 deflection and -8 to accuracy. And when you equip a shield, you have the same recovery time as if you were using a single one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon. So your recovery in this instance would actually be 54 frames with the 30-frame weapon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this encounter and demonstrate stealth, but first I wanted to also talk about Interrupt again, because I forgot to explain it properly, and I also rewatched Quill's video again, and I think the tooltip for Interrupt is actually incorrect, so I'm actually going to check that now. So if I mouse over that, okay, so it says blah blah blah, yep, compared to the target's concentration. I don't think that is true. So I think the tooltip for Interrupt is actually wrong. Now, how it actually works is your interrupt value will be added to a random roll of 1 to 100. And interrupts can only occur on grazes, hits, or crits. They don't occur on misses. If you roll a hit, it is just the dice roll plus your interrupt score, which I think is shown on the weapon when you mouse over the tooltip. So it says here, no, it's actually not. So that's a bit of a shame. Your interrupt roll is not being shown in the UI at all. It used to be shown on the weapon itself, but they've actually changed it to the interrupt length. So I actually submitted a bug report about this for the interrupt and concentration values to be shown on the character sheet, but currently they're not. So I think it's due to space issues. They haven't been able to fit it in on this tab, and it's not included on the tooltip either. So hopefully they end up finding a way to remedy that, because it's pretty important information. You will actually only be able to find out your interrupt value or your concentration value by looking in the combat log after you've actually made a successful interrupt. That's the only way to find it out currently. So what happens is on a hit, as I was saying before, it'll just be the random dice roll plus your interrupt, and then if that roll is higher than the enemy concentration, then you'll score an interrupt. That's not actually what it says on here, whether it's higher than 51 in the interrupt tooltip. Now, by default, all units in the game have a base concentration of 50. So I think by default you have I can't remember what chance it is. I know on a crit you've got a 50% chance of scoring an interrupt. It's lower than that on a hit, and it's by default it's 0% chance on a graze, because on grazes you get -50 to your interrupt roll. So if you rolled 25 and you got 30 interrupt, your roll will become 5. So you're pretty much never going to score an interrupt unless you get a really good roll and you've got a really good interrupt. And on a crit you get +50 to your interrupt. So if you roll a 25, you get you know, you say you got 14 bonus, that'll be 39. Then you get plus 50. If the enemy's concentration is, I think it has to beat it. I'm not sure if it has to equal it or not. If their concentration is 88 or lower, then you'll interrupt them, of course. So that is how it works. It's not actually what it says on the tooltip. And I also now I wanted to also you can actually enchant clothing. So this is something I forgot to talk about before. There is another type of armor in the game that it doesn't give you any bonuses or anything. It's just standard clothing. Several of the classes, I think monks, ciphers, and a couple of others actually come without clothing, but you can actually enchant clothing and give it some armor if you want to wear a little bit of protection but have no recovery penalty. And another thing I forgot to talk about is I've seen a couple of bits of information about DR floating around that are also incorrect. It is not actually minus 5% for every point of DR. This recovery speed will never increase. If you enchant the scale armor to fine scale armor, the recovery speed won't get slower. It will just stay at 35%. So fine scale armor would have a DR of 9, and then the percentile DR numbers here, which are probably like 75% and 125%. And the recovery speed would just be 35. So once you get access to higher tier armor, you get more of a benefit for the recovery speed. Okay, so in my previous video, what I should have done is actually use stealth to sneak up on the wolves and get a better position, so that I was in a better I gain more of an advantage in combat. So hey, what I'm going to do is I know the wolves are there. I'm going to press left alt and go into stealth, and I'm going to start moving through. Okay, so as you can see, I'm out of range of the vision of the wolves, but I can see them, so I can actually sneak up on them. Now I've got my high intellect fighter, which the stats I'll show off in a second, and I've got Kalisha. They both got knocked down, so I'm going to try and get as close as possible. Okay, so there we go. Now, because both of these characters have a bad stealth score, they were spotted pretty quickly, but at least it allows you to see enemies up ahead. So because that wolf is going for Kalisha, she's going to knock that one down. I'm going to skirt around the side to knock this one down with my fighter. And I missed. Okay, so I knocked one of them down. Now, another thing I forgot to show in the other video is these moving lines indicate engagement arrows. So currently this wolf is engaging Kalisha, and now she is engaging that wolf, and my PC is engaging this wolf. And when you mouse over a unit, they're currently highlighted in the color of their selection circle, but that is actually being disabled in the full game because it doesn't look good, and it will only show up on area of effect spells. So when you mouse over enemies with area of effect spell, it will highlight them. And also, as you can see, because I've got Kalisha selected and she's engaged, my mouse cursor is red. So this indicates that if you move anywhere, then Kalisha is going to suffer disengagement attacks. But my mouse cursor is not red for my PC because she's not being engaged. It would probably be better to focus fire. So I'm gonna do some. We're gonna knock these wolves down again. There we go. And no damage taken. Well, I got hit once. No big deal. So I have to go through this dialogue again. I'll just skip it, and then I'll go into the next story piece.
This is it.
Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate my high intellect fighter build once this quest text goes away. So if I go into my character sheet, I've made an Islander Mal monk. Now, for this build, it doesn't really matter what race you go, because it doesn't really require any specific racial abilities or any specific maximum stats. See, if I'd gone a godlike, I could have had 19 intellect, and if I'd selected... I am actually Old Valia, so technically the maximum 19 intellect that I can get is 19, but I've gone with 18. So this is the build that I generally use for the high intellect fighter. I have 18 in might and 18 in intellect. The reason I have 18 in intellect is for the plus 40% duration, because with this build I plan to use lots of active abilities, and that gives me more total disable and more total buffs from those active abilities. So by default, knockdown has a duration of 5 seconds. If I go into the knockdown description, as you can see, I get an extra 2 seconds out of that. And that's pretty valuable because if you're going to be using 2 or 3 knockdowns per encounter, that's an extra 6 seconds of disable that you, or even more if you got a crit. So it's, as a base, an extra 6 seconds of disable that you'll get in that encounter if you have 3 knockdowns. I have the high might because I like to use a two-handed weapon with this build, but you could use a one-handed weapon if you want, and that's not a bad choice to do a one-handed weapon knockdown fighter because you get an accuracy bonus, and that will mean that your knockdowns will have a higher chance of critting and having just any effect in general. I don't plan to use this character to tank, so I've put 9 into Constitution. I'm not like min-maxing to the hardcore and dropping everything down to 3 and stuff like that. I think it might be a psychological thing because of the malices to the derived stats. Obviously, might and intellect are my main focuses here, and then I've put my remaining points into dexterity just to get a little bit faster action speed. And I've left perception at 10 because I don't really want less perception because I don't really want less deflection, but I don't really care about interrupting with this build because I'm going to be disabling anyway. And when you're disabling, you don't really need the interrupt. It doesn't do anything. And I also don't really need concentration because I don't plan on getting attacked if I can avoid it. And I will be able to use 3 different weapons in my weapon sets. 4 skills. Currently, you just get a set of base skills to start off with. And I chose Knockdown as my first ability because of the disable. Now, I've actually cheated my characters up to level 2 just to demonstrate what you should get as your second... when you level up your character. So, for the Knockdown fighter... It doesn't really matter what you put into skills. I'm just going to do athletics. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. You get a talent at level 2, and then at level 3 you get an ability. So for my talent, I have quite a bit of choice. Now this is the key thing about the high intellect fighter is the bonus knockdown. It gives you an extra use per encounter, so you can disable 3 enemies in a row at the start of the fight, which means that there's 3 less enemies doing damage to you, and they're all easier to hit, so that will allow you to control the fight really well. However, in the early game, you may not actually need the bonus knockdown because you'll be fighting probably less enemies in encounters with your smaller party. So you may actually want to go on to the weapon-focused ones instead, which gives you +6 accuracy with a set weapon group. So here I'm using an S-Stock, which is under the weapon-focused adventurer group. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use that because I'd probably get more mileage out of that in the early game than the bonus knockdown one. Some other choices, they've actually limited a lot of the talent selection at level 2 now. So a lot of the talents are actually locked out to level 4. So you can't pick vulnerable attack or any of that kind of stuff, which is unfortunate. So... two-handed style is also another option that you could choose. I'm going to go with Weapon Focus Adventurer, which gives me an accuracy bonus with the S-Stock, which is one of my favourite two-handed weapons in the game. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cheat myself up to level 3 just to show you what you would pick, but I'm not actually going to level myself up. So I'm going to go add experience to level 3. Oops, I need to have I roll 20s on. Oh. I roll 20s. I roll 20s. Add experience to level 3. There we go. Okay, so now at level 3, for this build, I would recommend picking Discipline Barrage. It's a per encounter ability that gives you +10 accuracy. Now this is the reason why I liked high intellect with the knockdown, is because by default, when you use Discipline Barrage, it gives you 15 seconds of +10 accuracy, but the plus 40% duration from a high intellect changes that to 21. That means that pretty much for the whole encounter, you're going to have a +10 accuracy, and that's pretty good. The idea is to cast this at the start of the fight, once the combat begins, or just about when you enter melee. It's a no recovery ability, it has no animation, it goes off straight away, and then once you've turned Discipline Barrage on, then you use Knockdown, because then you've got a +10 accuracy bonus on your Knockdown. So that is what the 2 key abilities to this build. Knockdown, Discipline Barrage, and bonus Knockdown. I'm going to cancel the level up because I don't want to be too over leveled for the content ahead. I'm just going to leave Kalisha and my PC under leveled.
Got it.
And I'm going to reset the cage cursor because it's I'm going out of the screen. So I'm just going to fix that. There we go. Okay. Now we've got to go and find Sparfle's water skin. Might actually speed this up a little bit. So, as I was talking about in the second video, the game uses 3D water, so that water is actually 3D, and it will change colour depending on time of day.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting.
Okay, so this is something I haven't shown off before, and this is actually called an interstitial. There's a difference between scripted interactions and interstitials, because scripted interactions are... they're more like using your skills and to like overcome an obstacle. This is more of a storytelling event, and sometimes you can make actions in interstitials, but usually it just tells a story, and that's what this interstitial is. So it says, it gives you a bit of text up here, and it gives you a picture and a sound effect.
Sparfle, are you all right?
Okay, so we didn't see this in the game because it was better to display it in the interstitial, but the guy that was smoking at the tree has been shot in the back. And we're now being ambushed. No!
Ambush!
Spamming my spacebar, so once again I'm going to reiterate, pause the game! Pause the game at the start of every combat, and survey your surroundings. Okay, so we've got two human dudes in hide armor. That guy's got a club and a shield, so he's going to have a higher deflection, and this one's got a bow. Now, what I could do here is I could split my party members up to attack a guy individually, which is probably what I'm going to do, because it'll just mean it'll be a 1 versus 1, and I won't be letting a single guy wail on me, and I can use both the fighters' knockdowns to disable the individual enemies. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get Kalisha to knock that guy down. I'm going to get my PC to knock this guy down. Okay, so I might zoom out, even though it looks worse, just to show off the battlefield, because I'm playing in 720p. Okay, so knocked him down. Now she's targeting him. Yep, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you need?
Not a problem. Oh, come on, kill him. Stop missing. Oh, terrible, Kalisha. Oh my god. There we go. Okay, so I took a little bit of damage. It wasn't that bad. This is, as a reminder, this is hard difficulty, but the prologue is really easy. So I'm going to zoom back in, loot the stuff, and then I'm going to go and do another encounter. Now, I'm not going to show off the encounter after this, because it will go into a story sequence afterwards that I don't want to spoil, for just in case there's anyone who's not watching this video. Okay, so as you can hear now in the game, you can probably discern sounds of battle coming from the right side of the screen. So that means that there's a battle going on. There might be enemies.
And not be seen.
Let's go into stealth, because we don't want to be caught out of position now, do we? Alright, so as you can see there, there's two guys. I'm going to skirt around the side just to see if there's any more. Oop, I've been spotted. Ah! Mucked it up.
What you need?
Okay, so now we're facing off against 3 enemies, so I've got a bit of a decision here about how to handle this. I could just let the bow guy wail on me, or I could, since I've got 4 knockdowns, I could just knock down everyone. I think that's what I'll do. Alright, so now once I've knocked that guy down, I'm going to change targets and knock the bow guy down, because he's disabled. He's not doing any damage to me. Whoa, okay, we've got a sliding dude. And she missed her knockdown, unfortunately, so that was a bit of a shame. This guy will probably do more damage, so I'll get rid of him. Oh, what's with the misses? Okay, so that was simple enough. I didn't take much damage. So, I don't want to go ahead with the next encounter, because even though there's more enemies and it would be cool to demonstrate how to handle that amount of enemies, I just wanted to show the basics of playing with a high intellect fighter, and that is just basically when you're level 3, get Discipline Barrage, and then just use your knockdowns and just disable enemies in combat. Just keep knocking them down so they can't do any damage to you. As you can see, I've taken pretty much no damage. But I am 1 level higher than I should be, which it doesn't really matter, because the only things that I've really gained is the +6 accuracy, which obviously does something. Would have given me a few less misses, and I've got +3 to a few defenses and stuff like that. But I've handled the situation pretty well. I've shown off the high intellect fighter with the two-handed weapon. Now, one thing I could have actually done is instead of wearing armor, I'm actually wearing brigandine armor. I would have probably what I should have done is actually switch to clothing, because with the high intellect fighter, you're probably not going to be taking much damage. So what I probably should have done is actually changed to the deer wooden clothing, which gives me no recovery penalty. That means that I would have taken down the enemies faster instead of just using the armor. Because the armor did protect me from heavy armor pretty much makes graze damage do nothing, but like high damage will still get through it. So the main benefit of heavy armor is if you take graze damage, generally it reduces it down to minimum damage depending on what creature you're facing. If you're facing something like a bear, well, they're still going to graze you for like 40 damage or something like that. You can't really get around it. So that's just the basics of how to play a high intellect fighter, just with a couple of the encounters in the game. Maybe I should turn this up to Path of the Damned. I'll do some experimenting just so to get some more enemies or not. And I'll put this video up on YouTube. Now, what I'm going to do is can people either comment on the video or comment on Reddit or something like that about what class you want to see next, and then because I'll be here for the rest of the night or the rest of the day because it's 4:30 here at the moment. So once I get a few people suggesting the same class, I'll just record a video of that and upload it. Alright, thanks for watching guys, and look forward to the next one.